Have you ever stopped to think about the true depth of ancient Egypt's influence? Sure, we all know about the pyramids, the pharaohs, and the treasure-filled tombs. But what if I told you that this ancient civilization's impact is not just confined to the desert, sands, or the pages of history books? In fact, its fingerprints are everywhere. From the buildings we work into the way we communicate, and even how we understand life, death, and the cosmos. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at the modern world. This is ancient Egypt like you've never seen it before. Let's begin with something that's been standing tall for over 5,000 years. Architecture. When we think of ancient Egypt, we picture the awe-inspiring pyramids, the grand temples, and the intricate tombs of pharaohs. But what we often miss is the sheer genius behind these structures. The Egyptians didn't just build these monuments for their kings. They created an architectural blueprint that would go on to influence entire civilizations. Take a moment to think about the grand columns in Washington, D.C., or the iconic columns at the White House, the U.S. Capitol, or the Lincoln Memorial. These columns, which are so central to Western architecture, owe their origins to ancient Egypt. The towering columns of the Egyptians weren't just decorative. They were practical and symbolic. They created a sense of grandeur and order. And those very principles were adopted by the Greeks and Romans and continue to influence buildings today. It's not just about the columns. Egyptian architecture was deeply tied to the alignment of the cosmos and religious beliefs. Many of their monuments were designed to mirror the movements of the stars, with precise calculations that we are still trying to fully understand today. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, is positioned with such accuracy that it aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal points of the compass. Their architectural mastery didn't just stop at design. It extended to advanced techniques, like the use of ramps, cranes, and clever building tools that still astonish modern engineers. But here's something else you might not know. Ancient Egypt's impact isn't just in grand buildings. It's also in something we take for granted every day: writing. Think back to a time when the written word didn't exist, when thoughts and stories couldn't be documented. How did societies pass on their knowledge? The Egyptians gave us one of the first systems of writing: hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics were more than just beautiful images etched into stone. They were an advanced, functional writing system that was essential to their way of life. They used these symbols to record history, track the passage of time, and even map out the journey of the soul in the afterlife. And that system didn't just stay confined to Egypt. It laid the groundwork for the alphabets we use today. Think about it. Without Egyptian hieroglyphics, we might still be using cumbersome pictographs. The Egyptians were the first to develop a system where symbols stood for sounds, which is the foundation for every alphabetic language that followed. This wasn't just a monumental leap in communication, it was a revolution. If you've ever written a letter, an email, or even a text message, you're participating in a legacy that began in ancient Egypt. Their written word didn't just communicate. It told stories, stories that have lasted thousands of years. One of their most famous texts, the Book of the Dead, was a guide for the soul's journey into the afterlife. This sacred book gave detailed instructions for how to navigate the perilous journey after death, and it became a cornerstone of Egyptian religious practice. But the Book of the Dead wasn't just important in Egypt. It would go on to inspire countless works of literature, not only in the ancient world but throughout history. The themes of life after death, divine judgment, and immortality would echo throughout Greek, Roman, and even Christian literature, influencing how the world understood the mystery of life beyond the grave. Speaking of life beyond the grave, ancient Egypt's spiritual beliefs are another area where their influence runs deep. The Egyptians had a complex and vibrant pantheon of gods and goddesses, each representing different aspects of life, nature, and the cosmos. But what's even more fascinating is how their beliefs about the afterlife have trickled down through history, influencing spiritual and religious practices across the world. For the Egyptians, the afterlife wasn't just a mystical belief, it was a crucial part of their lives. They believed in a judgment after death, where the heart of the deceased was weighed against the feather of Mayat, the goddess of truth and justice, to determine whether they would enter the afterlife or be devoured by Ammit, the soul-eating monster. Does that sound familiar? Concepts of judgment after death, weighing of the soul, and divine judgment are found in many world religions today. The Egyptians' emphasis on the soul's journey and the rituals they performed to ensure safe passage into the afterlife deeply influenced both the Greeks and Romans, as well as later religious traditions, including Christianity and Islam. Even certain funerary rituals we practice today, from embalming to the idea of the soul's immortality, can trace their roots back to Egypt. Now let's talk about another groundbreaking contribution from the Egyptians that still influences our lives today: science and mathematics. The Egyptians were not only spiritual pioneers, they were intellectual giants. Their understanding of geometry and mathematics helped them build the pyramids with stunning precision. They didn't have cranes or bulldozers, but they had an intimate understanding of measurement and space. But their contributions didn't stop at geometry. The Egyptians also had an exceptional understanding of astronomy, which they used to navigate the stars, predict the flooding of the Nile, and create one of the first known calendars. Their ability to track the movements of the stars allowed them to time agricultural cycles with incredible accuracy, ensuring their survival in a harsh desert environment. They also created a 365-day calendar based on the movement of the sun and stars, which is eerily similar to the calendar we use today. And then there's the art, the extraordinary, symbolic art of ancient Egypt. Their art wasn't just about beauty, it was about meaning. Every stroke of the brush, every sculpture, and every painting was carefully crafted to represent the gods, the afterlife, and the order of the universe. Egyptian art followed strict rules, with each piece designed to represent an idealized version of the world, whether that was a king in his glory or a god in his divine perfection. But these artistic traditions didn't disappear after the fall of Egypt. Instead, they became a source of inspiration for centuries. From the Renaissance artists who studied Egyptian art to the way modern fashion designers incorporate Egyptian motifs into their work, the influence of ancient Egypt can still be seen in how we approach art and design today. The more you explore, the more you realize just how deeply ancient Egypt has shaped the world we live in. It's not just about the pyramids or the pharaohs, it's about the very foundation of civilization. The Egyptians gave us the building blocks of modern science: mathematics, writing, spirituality, and art. Their influence is woven into everything we do, from the buildings we live in to the way we communicate, the way we understand the world, and even the way we understand ourselves. So next time you walk past a grand column, write a message, or look up at the stars. Remember, you're not just seeing a piece of the modern world, you're seeing the legacy of ancient Egypt, still alive and well thousands of years after its peak. Ancient Egypt didn't just give us monuments. It gave us a vision of the world that continues to shape our lives today. Thanks for tuning in. If you were amazed by how much ancient Egypt has influenced our world, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and drop a comment below to share your favorite Egyptian fact. We'll see you next time.